Clara Bennett has lost everything except the courage to start over. After a devastating divorce, she bets all her chips on an old forgotten house in the countryside, seeking to rebuild a home for her 2 children and some peace for herself. But what Clara doesn't know is that the house holds more than just cracked walls and dusty secrets, hidden letters, hidden drawings, a diary from the past, and a revelation that would change everything Clara thought she knew about her family. And herself. What was this house trying to tell her? And why did it seem to have been waiting all these years for her? Stay with me until the end of this episode to find out how a condemned house turned into an emotional rebirth that touched an entire town. You won't believe what was hidden in the attic. I'd love to know where you're watching from today, and if you're enjoying this, leave it in the comments and make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow's special episode is one you definitely won't want to miss. The rain poured down in torrents as Clara Bennett pulled into the gravel driveway of her new home. The old house loomed before her like a forgotten relic from another era, its peeling paint and sagging roof telling tales of years gone by. Clara glanced nervously at her 2 children in the back seat. Luna, her 14-year-old daughter, was wrapped in a cocoon of silence, staring out the window with a mix of disbelief and resentment. 10-year-old Ben, on the other hand, was wide-eyed, with curiosity, his imagination dancing with the possibilities of adventure. "Here we are," Clara said, trying to sound upbeat despite the knot tightening in her stomach. "Welcome to our new home." Luna turned her head slowly, her expression a mixture of disbelief and annoyance. "This place looks like it's about to fall apart," she muttered, crossing her arms defiantly. "Did you really think this was a good idea, Mom?" "Luna, it just needs some love," Clara replied, forcing a smile. "Just like us. Let's go check it out." Ben unbuckled his seatbelt, his enthusiasm unshaken by the gloomy weather. "Can I explore the backyard?" he asked eagerly, already reaching for the door handle. "Sure, just stay close," Clara said, as she stepped out into the rain. The cold droplets splattered against her skin, mingling with the anxiety that churned in her chest. She took a deep breath and moved toward the front door, hoping to somehow inspire her daughter to share in her vision of a fresh start. The inside of the house was even worse than she had imagined. The air was thick with the smell of mold and decay, and the walls were lined with peeling wallpaper that hung like weary curtains. Clara's heart sank at the sight of the sagging ceiling and the water stains that marred the once white paint. It felt more like a haunted house than a home. "Mom, it's disgusting in here," Luna exclaimed, her voice rising in pitch. "I can't believe you brought us here." "Luna, please, just give it a chance," Clara urged, her voice shaking slightly. "We can fix it up together. Look at all the space we have." She gestured toward the large living room where dust motes danced in, the dim light filtering through grimy windows. "I don't care about space. I care about having a home, and this isn't it." Luna shot back, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. She turned away, her frustration palpable as she stomped off toward the kitchen. Ben, trying to lighten the mood, peeked into the living room. "Can I see the backyard now?" he asked, a hopeful spark in his eyes. "Of course, buddy. Just be careful," Clara replied, forcing herself to remain calm. She watched as Ben dashed through the back door, his laughter muffled by the rain. Clara sighed, feeling the weight of her daughter's disappointment pressing down on her. She pulled out her phone and dialed her best friend, Sarah. After a few rings, Sarah's voice came through, cheerful yet concerned. "Clara, how's the big move?" It's not going great," Clara admitted, her voice wavering. "The house is in worse shape than I thought. I don't know how I'm going to make this work." "Just take it one step at a time," Sarah urged. "You're stronger than you think. Remember, you've always managed to pull through." "Thanks, I needed to hear that," Clara said, wiping a tear from her cheek. It's just hard. I want to give the kids a fresh start, but start with the little things. Focus on making it a home, not a project, Sarah suggested. And don't forget I'm only a phone call away. I will. I promise, Clara replied, her heart gradually lifting. She hung up and took a deep breath, trying to shake off the despair. Just then, Ben burst back into the house, dripping wet and grinning from ear to ear. "Mum, you have to see this," he exclaimed, tugging at her sleeve. "What is it, sweetheart?" Clara asked, her spirits beginning to lift at his enthusiasm. "There's a treehouse in the backyard. It's kind of old and rickety, but it's awesome." Ben's eyes sparkled as he spoke, painting a picture of adventure. Clara's heart swelled at the sight of her son's excitement. "Really a treehouse," she said, trying to match his enthusiasm. "Let's go take a look." They made their way to the backyard, the rain still pouring down, but somehow feeling less oppressive now. As they stepped outside, Clara noticed the old oak tree standing proudly in the middle of the yard. It had a massive trunk, its branches stretching out like welcoming arms. Nestled high among the branches was a small, weathered treehouse, its wooden walls faded but sturdy. "Can we fix it up?" Ben asked, practically bouncing on his toes. "It could be our secret hideout." "Absolutely. That sounds like a perfect project for us," Clara said, her heart lifting further. "But we'll need to be careful. Let's check it out first." They approached the treehouse, and Clara felt a flicker of hope. It might be old and worn, but it was still standing. She could see the potential, just as she had envisioned, for their new home. "Mum, look!" Ben shouted, pointing at something inside the treehouse. "There are some old toys and books." "Let's take a look," Clara said, smiling at her son's excitement. They climbed up the rickety ladder, and as they stepped inside, Clara was hit with a wave of nostalgia. Dust motes danced in the air like tiny fairies, and the smell of aged wood surrounded them. Inside, they found a few faded stuffed animals, a couple of old comic books, and a small box filled with crayons. "This is amazing," Ben exclaimed, rummaging through the box. "Can I keep the crayons?" "Of course we can make this place our own," Clara said, her heart swelling with pride at her son's enthusiasm. As Ben explored the little space, Clara took a moment to appreciate the treehouse's charm. It may have been neglected, but it held memories of laughter and adventure. She could see her children playing here, their imaginations ignited by the stories hidden within the pages of the old books. "Maybe we can paint it and make it colorful," Ben suggested, his eyes sparkling with ideas. "And we can put up some fairy lights." "I love that idea," Clara replied, feeling a surge of inspiration. "We can make it a place where you and Luna can escape whenever you need to." Just then, Luna appeared at the bottom of the ladder, arms crossed, and a skeptical look on her face. "What are you guys doing up there?" she asked, trying to sound indifferent, but unable to hide the hint of curiosity. "We found a tree house," Ben shouted, beaming with pride. "You have to come see it." Luna hesitated for a moment, then sighed and climbed the ladder to join them. "Fine, but it better not be a total dump," she muttered. As she stepped inside, her eyes widened in surprise. "Okay, this is kinda cool," she admitted, glancing around at the old toys and the view of the yard from the small window. "But it still needs a lot of work." Clara smiled, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. "You're right, but we can fix it up together. It could be our family project." Luna looked at her mother, the anger in her eyes softening just a little. "I guess it could be fun," she said, her voice quieter now. "As long as it doesn't turn into another disaster." "We'll take it one step at a time," Clara reassured her, feeling a flicker of hope. "Just like we're going to fix up the house." "Yeah, and we can decorate it however we want," Ben added, excitement bubbling over again. "Let's make it our secret fort." Luna finally cracked a smile, the tension between them easing just a bit. "All right, I'm in," she said, her tone lighter. But if we're doing this, we need snacks, lots of snacks. Deal, Clara said, her heart swelling with gratitude. In that moment, beneath the rain-soaked roof of the old treehouse, she realized they might just be able to forge new memories, even amidst the chaos of their lives. And with that, Clara felt a renewed sense of determination. This was their chance to rebuild, not just the house, but their family, one small project at a time. The rain had finally stopped, but the remnants of the storm lingered in the air, heavy and damp. Clara stood in the living room, surveying the chaos that had taken over her new home. The old wooden floorboards creaked beneath her feet as she moved, and the scent of mildew mixed with the remnants of rain seeped through the cracked windows. Her heart ached with the weight of what lay ahead. "Mom, can I go outside?" Ben's small voice broke through her thoughts. He stood at the door, his eyes wide with an innocent hope that contrasted sharply with the disarray inside. "Just be careful, okay?" Clara replied, forcing a smile. "Stay close to the house." Ben nodded enthusiastically and darted outside, his energy a stark reminder of the life she was trying to build. Clara turned back to the mess, inhaling deeply, willing herself to muster some semblance of optimism. As she began to pick up the scattered remnants of their move, Luna's silence echoed in the back of her mind. The teenager had barely spoken since they arrived, her resentment hanging in the air like a thick fog. Clara could see her daughter through the window, standing apart from Ben, her arms crossed over her chest. The distance between them felt insurmountable, a chasm formed by the divorce and the upheaval of their lives. "Luna, do you want to help me out here?" Clara called out, hoping to bridge the gap, but her daughter simply shrugged her gaze, fixed on the ground. "I'm fine," Luna muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. Clara felt the sting of rejection, but she didn't have the energy to push. Instead, she focused on the task at hand, trying to ignore the ache in her chest. She was determined to make this house their home, despite its crumbling facade and the ghosts of the past. The first night in the house was a test of endurance. They had no furniture, just sleeping bags scattered across the living room floor. The sound of rain pattering against the roof was a constant reminder of their situation, and Clara couldn't shake the feeling of abandonment creeping in. "Can you read us a story, Mom?" Ben asked, his voice breaking the silence. "Sure, sweetheart," Clara replied, reaching for a dusty book that had been left behind. She opened it, her fingers brushing over the worn pages, and began to read. As the words flowed, she felt a sense of calm wash over her, momentarily pushing aside the chaos of their lives. Luna, however, remained distant. Clara could see her daughter's frustration building, and the tension in the room was palpable. Finally, when the story ended, Luna exploded. "Why did you even buy this place?" she shouted, her eyes flashing with anger. "It's a dump. You're ruining our lives." Clara's heart sank. "Luna, please, I know it's hard." "No, you don't," Luna interrupted, tears brimming in her eyes. "You have no idea what we've lost. You just want to pretend everything's okay." "Luna, I'm trying to make it work," Clara said softly, her voice trembling. "We'll fix it together, I promise." But Luna shook her head, her expression pained. "I don't want to be here. I want Dad." The words cut through Clara like a knife. She wanted to reach out to pull her daughter close, but the distance between them felt impossible. Instead, she sat in silence, overwhelmed by the weight of the moment. As the night wore on, Clara lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The sound of Ben's soft breathing provided a small comfort, but her mind raced. She thought about the life they had left behind, the shattered dreams of a family that felt irretrievable. Morning arrived, bringing with it the promise of a new day. But Clara woke with a heaviness in her heart. She knew she had to take action to find a way to bring her family together. After a quick breakfast of toast and jam, she decided to explore the backyard, hoping to find some solace in the remnants of the old property. As she stepped outside, the sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow across the overgrown grass. Clara squinted against the brightness, breathing in the fresh air. She noticed a dilapidated treehouse in the distance, half hidden behind a tangle of bushes. "Hey, Ben, come check this out," Clara called, her voice filled with a newfound excitement. Ben appeared at her side, his face lighting up at the sight of the treehouse. "Can we go up there?" he asked, bouncing on his toes. "Let's see if it's safe," Clara replied, her heart swelling with a flicker of hope. Together they approached the structure, its wooden beams weathered but surprisingly sturdy. As they climbed the rickety stairs, Clara felt a wave of nostalgia wash over her. This place had once been a sanctuary for her own childhood dreams. She turned to Ben, who was already peeking inside his eyes, wide with wonder. "Wow, it's like a secret fort," he exclaimed, his laughter echoing through the trees. Clara smiled, her heart lifting at the sight of her son's joy. "It really is. We could make it our special place." Just then, Luna emerged from the house, her expression still guarded. But as she caught sight of Ben's excitement, Clara saw a flicker of curiosity cross her face. "Are you guys going in?" Luna asked, her tone softer than before. "Come on, Luna, it'll be fun," Ben urged, bouncing on his heels. Clara held her breath, hoping this would be the moment that drew them together. After a moment's hesitation, Luna approached, her arms still crossed, but her expression less hostile. "Fine, but if it falls, I'm not responsible," she said with a hint of a smile. As they all climbed into the treehouse, Clara felt a sense of unity beginning to blossom. They spent the next hour clearing out old leaves and debris, transforming the space into a makeshift hideaway. "Look at this!" Ben shouted, holding up an old newspaper that had been tucked away. "It's from like the 90s. Luna chuckled, her earlier frustration fading. "Wow, that's ancient." As they laughed and shared stories, Clara felt the tension ease. In that moment, she realized that their journey wasn't just about fixing the house, it was about healing their family. Later that evening, Clara gathered the courage to reach out to the only friend she could rely on. She picked up her phone and dialed Sarah, her best friend from college. "Clara, it's so good to hear from you." Sarah's voice was warm and inviting, and Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. "I need help, Sarah. I'm overwhelmed. The house is a mess, and I don't know how to bring the kids together." Clara admitted, her voice shaking. "Just take it one step at a time. You've always been strong. Remember what we talked about, small victories." "Yeah, but I feel like I'm failing." Clara sighed. "You're not. You're just in a rough patch. I can come down this weekend and help. I'll bring some supplies, and we can tackle this together," Sarah said confidently. Clara smiled through her tears, grateful for the support. "Thank you. That means the world to me." After hanging up, Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. She gathered her children, who were still buzzing with energy from their afternoon adventure. "Hey guys," she said, "I have an idea. We're going to start a project together. This weekend, Sarah is coming to help us fix up the house. I want us to work as a team." Ben's eyes lit up. "Can we paint? I want to make my room blue." "Sure, buddy. And Luna, what do you think?" Clara asked, hoping to draw her daughter in. "I don't know," Luna said, but Clara could see that she was considering it. "How about we find a way to make it special for all of us?" Clara proposed, her heart racing. "Okay, I guess," Luna replied, a cautious smile creeping onto her face. Clara felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Maybe they were on the verge of something beautiful. Perhaps they could transform this broken house into a home, one small step at a time. And as she looked at her children, she knew she had to keep pushing forward even in the face of uncertainty. Together, they would find their way back to each other. As Clara stepped into the warm embrace of the late afternoon sun, a gentle breeze rustled through the trees, sending a cascade of leaves fluttering to the ground. She took a deep breath, feeling the mix of fresh air and the earthy scent of the newly turned soil from the community garden just a few yards away. Today marked a significant moment in her journey of restoration, and yet she felt a swirl of nerves and excitement in her stomach as she prepared for the upcoming community dinner in her backyard. "Mom, do you think Esmeralda will really come?" Ben asked, his wide eyes shining with a mixture of hope and curiosity. He tugged on the hem of his shirt, his small fingers fidgeting as he looked up at Clara. "Of course she will, sweetheart. Everyone wants to celebrate the work we've done together. She's been so excited to see the house come back to life," Clara reassured him, her voice warm, though her heart raced in anticipation of the evening ahead. "I can't wait to show everyone the treehouse," he exclaimed, his face lighting up, with a smile that reminded Clara of the carefree days before their lives were turned upside down. Clara smiled back, but her mind drifted momentarily to Luna. She hadn't seen much of her daughter today, and the silence from her usually vibrant artistic spirit gnawed at her. Clara hoped Luna would join them. She needed to feel the warmth of community and the support that had begun to grow around them. "Why don't you go check on your sister?" Clara suggested, trying to keep her tone light. "I'll start setting up the tables." Ben nodded enthusiastically and dashed off towards the interior of the house, his footsteps echoing down the hall. Clara watched him go, appreciating the small moments of joy that flickered in her life like the sunlight dappling through the leaves above. As she began to set the tables on the patio, Clara felt a flutter of anxiety creep in. She had never hosted a community gathering before, and the thought of bringing everyone together made her both excited and apprehensive. What if no one showed up? What if they didn't like the food? Her mind raced with worries, but she shook them off, reminding herself of the sense of belonging she had started to feel in this small town. "Hey, Clara, need any help?" a familiar voice called out, breaking her train of thought. Clara looked up to see Matteo approaching a toolbox in one hand and a friendly smile on his face. "Matteo, just the person I needed," she replied, relief washing over her. "I'm trying to get everything set up before people arrive. Let me give you a hand. I'm good at arranging things, especially when it comes to food," he said, setting down his toolbox and rolling up his sleeves. "What's on the menu?" "Just some simple dishes. My mom's famous pasta salad and a few appetizers." "I wanted it to feel homey," Clara explained, feeling a blush creep up her cheeks. "But I'm not sure if it's enough." "Trust me, it'll be more than enough. It's the company that matters," Matteo said, moving to help her arrange the tables and chairs. Their hands brushed against each other as they worked side by side, and Clara felt a warmth spread through her chest. "Thanks for being here," she said softly, glancing at him. "I really appreciate it." "Any time," he replied, his eyes meeting hers for a brief moment. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a shared knowledge of the struggles they both faced, the burdens they carried. As they continued to set up, Clara couldn't help but admire Matteo's easy demeanor. He seemed to move with a grace that came from experience, his hands skilled and practiced. "You really have a way with tools," she noted, gesturing toward the toolbox. "Have you done this kind of work for a long time?" "Pretty much my whole life," he said, a faint smile playing on his lips. "My father was a carpenter, and he taught me everything I know. When I was a kid, I used to spend hours in his workshop, just watching him create. It's always felt like magic to me." "Magic?" Clara asked, intrigued. "How so?" "Well, you start with raw materials, wood nails a vision, and then you create something beautiful out of it. It's like building a piece of yourself into each project." Matteo explained, his eyes lighting up with passion. "I think that's why I love working on this house so much. It's not just about fixing it up, it's about uncovering its story." Clara felt her heart stir at his words. "That's exactly how I feel," she admitted. Each room holds memories and secrets. It's like peeling back layers to reveal what's been hidden for so long. Exactly. And with each layer you find something new, Matteo said, nodding. You're doing an incredible job, Clara. The house is coming back to life because of you. His compliment warmed her more than the sun that dipped low in the sky. Thank you, she murmured, feeling a flutter of hope in her chest. I just want my kids to feel safe and loved here. Then you're already halfway there, Matteo replied, his voice steady and encouraging. They can feel your strength, even if they don't always show it. Just as they finished arranging the last of the tables, Ben reappeared, followed closely by Luna, who looked hesitant. The sight of her daughter's furrowed brow pulled at Clara's heartstrings. Hey, Luna, we're almost ready, Clara called out, trying to inject enthusiasm into her voice. Come help us with the food. Luna shrugged, her arms crossed tightly against her chest. I don't want to, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Why not? It'll be fun, you can showcase your art, and everyone will love it. Ben chimed in, his excitement palpable. I'm not sure I want to, Luna muttered, turning away from them, her expression shadowed by uncertainty. Luna, Clara spoke softly, moving closer to her daughter. I know this change has been hard for you, but tonight is about celebrating our new home, about welcoming people who've been so kind to us. It would mean a lot to me if you could join us. Luna met her mother's gaze, and for a moment Clara saw the flicker of conflict in her daughter's eyes. I miss how things were, she admitted, her voice trembling. I know, sweetheart. I miss it too, Clara said, reaching out to place a comforting hand on Luna's shoulder. But this is our chance to create new memories together, and I promise it will get better. Luna hesitated, her expression softening as she looked around at the vibrant setup, the warmth of the sun on their backs. Okay, fine. I'll help. She relented, though Clara could still see the weight of her feelings lingering just beneath the surface. Great. Come on. Let's make this dinner the best one yet. Clara encouraged, relief flooding through her as she watched. Her daughter joined them. As they began to prepare the food, the atmosphere shifted. The energy in the air became lighter, and Clara felt the tension slowly dissipate. Matteo joined in, joking with Ben, who laughed at his playful antics. Clara watched, the interaction unfold, gratitude filling her heart. She could see Luna's lips twitching upward at the corners, and for the first time that day, she felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps they were all beginning to heal. The sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting a golden hue over everything. The sound of laughter and the clinking of utensils filled the air, mingling with the scent of freshly prepared food. The backyard transformed into a warm, inviting space, a testament to their hard work and the bonds they were forming. Okay, everyone. Dinner's ready, Clara announced, her heart racing with excitement. She looked around the backyard, her eyes landing on Matteo, who gave her a reassuring nod. As they settled down at the tables, Clara felt a sense of belonging wash over her. Neighbors she had only waved to before now gathered around her, sharing stories, laughter and food. The house, once a shell of despair, began to hum with life. Here's to new beginnings, Clara raised her glass, her voice steady despite the flutter of emotion in her chest. And to the friends who make this journey worthwhile. Everyone raised their glasses in response, their smiles brightening the evening. Clara caught Luna's eye, and for the first time in a long while, she saw a flicker of hope reflected back at her. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the newly restored yard, where laughter and chatter filled the air like sweet music. Clara stood at the edge of the lawn, her heart swelling with a mix of pride and disbelief. It was Thanksgiving Day, and the community had come together to celebrate not just the holiday, but the transformation of her home. A place that had once felt like a crumbling shell was now alive with color, warmth, and connection. As she surveyed the scene, Clara spotted Matteo, his hands working deftly to arrange tables, adorned with vibrant tablecloths and flickering candles. He straightened up and caught her eye, flashing a warm smile that made her heart flutter. "Hey, beautiful, can you believe how many people showed up?" He called out, his voice rich with enthusiasm. "It's incredible," Clara replied, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I never imagined we'd have this many friends to share the day with." She took a deep breath, inhaling the scents of roasted turkey and pumpkin pie wafting from the kitchen where Luna and Ben had been enlisted to help prepare the meal. "Remember last week when it was just the three of us eating takeout?" Matteo chuckled, shaking his head. "Look at us now, this is a real feast." Clara laughed, feeling a warmth spread through her. "I think we've come a long way since then. I owe so much of this to you, Matteo." He shrugged his eyes, sparkling with mischief. "Just doing my part. But we both know this wouldn't have happened if you hadn't taken a leap of faith. You're the one who saw the potential in this house, and in yourself." Clara felt her cheeks warm under his gaze, her pulse quickening at the way he spoke to her, as if he truly understood the journey she had been on. Before she could respond, Luna and Ben burst through the kitchen door, flour dusting their hair and cheeks. "Mom, we need more plates!" Ben exclaimed, his eyes wide with excitement. "Olivia brought her family, and they're all really hungry." "Okay, sweetie, I'll grab some from the pantry," Clara replied, moving toward the house as Luna followed. "Can you believe we did it?" Luna asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "All of us worked so hard, and now it's actually happening." Clara smiled at her daughter, her heart swelling with pride. "You were amazing, Luna. Your drawings transformed this place, and your art brought life to the house." "Thanks," Luna said, her demeanor softening. I didn't know how much I missed it until I started drawing again." Clara's heart ached with empathy, remembering the struggles they had faced. "We're all learning to rebuild. In our own ways, aren't we?" "Yeah," Luna replied, her eyes sparkling with a newfound determination. "And I think we're finally making this house feel like home." As they returned to the yard, Clara felt a surge of gratitude wash over her. The long wooden tables were filled with dishes crafted by the neighbors, each plate telling a story of connection and community. Clara could hear snippets of conversations, laughter mingling with the clinking of glasses, and it felt like a symphony of hope. "Clara," Esmeralda called out, her voice cutting through the din. The elderly woman was perched at one of the tables, animatedly chatting with a group of children who were enthralled by her stories. "Come here, dear, you must hear this." Clara approached, intrigued. Esmeralda's stories had become a cherished part of their home, weaving the past and present together like the threads of a tapestry. "What are you telling them?" Clara asked, smiling at the children gathered around. "I was just sharing a tale about how I once tried to bake a pie for the town fair and ended up with a kitchen covered in flour." Esmeralda began, her eyes twinkling. "And let me tell you, it wasn't pretty, but it brought everyone together to help clean up, and we ended up having the best time." Clara chuckled, imagining the scene. "I think we all have those moments. It's the messes that sometimes create the best memories." "Exactly," Esmeralda exclaimed, her voice filled with wisdom and warmth. "Life is like that, dear. It's all about how you choose to make the best out of what's thrown your way." Just then, Matteo approached, carrying a large bowl of mashed potatoes. "I think these are going to be the star of the show," he said with a wink, placing the bowl on the table. "What do you think, Clara?" "Definitely," Clara replied, her heart fluttering at the sight of him. "You really outdid yourself today." Matteo grinned, his gaze steady on her. "I just wanted to make sure this day is special for you and your family." He paused, looking around, "and it looks like it is." As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the gathering, Clara called for everyone's attention. "Hey everyone, can I have your attention for a moment?" The chatter died down, and all eyes turned toward her. I just wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude. We've all come together to create something beautiful here, and it means the world to me and my family. Thank you for being a part of this journey. A chorus of cheers erupted from the crowd, and Clara felt a surge of emotion. She looked at her children, their faces beaming with pride, and then back at the community that had embraced them. You've made this house feel like a home, and I can't thank you enough. Here's to new beginnings. Esmeralda raised her glass, her voice booming with enthusiasm. And to the power of community. To new beginnings, everyone echoed glasses raised high in a toast. As they began to dig into the feast, Clara felt a sense of belonging wash over her. Matteo sat beside her, and they exchanged glances filled with unspoken understanding. I'm glad we're doing this together, he said softly, leaning closer. You've built something incredible here. Clara's heart raced as she met his gaze. I couldn't have done it without you. You've helped me see that I can rebuild not just the house but my own life as well. Matteo smiled, his eyes reflecting a depth of understanding that made Clara's heart flutter. Sometimes all it takes is a little help to see the possibilities. As the evening wore on, laughter filled the air and Clara found herself lost in the warmth of the moment. The children played in the yard, their laughter mingling with the conversations of the adults, and she saw the joy reflected in their faces. Can you pass the gravy, please? Ben asked, looking up at Clara with wide eyes. Of course, honey, she replied, reaching for the bowl and pouring it over his mashed potatoes. How's everything tasting? Delicious. Can we have this every year? Ben asked eagerly, his face lighting up. Clara chuckled, her heart swelling with love. If this is what it takes to bring everyone together, I think we can make it a tradition. As the night deepened, Clara looked around at the faces of those gathered in her yard, friends, neighbors, and newfound family. She felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought them all together. The house, once a symbol of her brokenness, now stood as a testament to resilience, healing, and the power of community. And in that moment, under the twinkling lights and surrounded by laughter, Clara understood that she had not only restored a house, she had created a home, a sanctuary filled with love, hope, and the promise of new beginnings. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow across the newly painted walls of Clara's home, the anticipation for the community dinner was palpable. Clara stood in the kitchen, her hands rhythmically chopping vegetables while the rich aroma of simmering soup filled the air. The house, once a mere collection of peeling wallpaper and broken fixtures, now hummed with the life she and her children were cultivating. It was as if every brushstroke, every nail hammered in, echoed with the laughter and love that had begun to seep into its very foundation. Mom, can I help? Ben's voice broke through her concentration. He had his small hands clasped behind his back, his eyes wide with eagerness. Of course, sweetheart. Can you set the table for me? Clara smiled, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Sure. He sprang into action, darting to the dining room where mismatched chairs had been gathered, each one a testament to the community's support. Clara watched him go, her heart swelling with gratitude. It was the little things like this that reminded her how far they had come. In the corner of the kitchen, Luna sat sketching furiously in her notebook, the page filled with vibrant colors and swirling patterns. The sight of her daughter lost in creativity brought a tear to Clara's eye. Just weeks ago, Luna had been a shadow of herself, grappling with the tumultuous emotions of their new life. Now she radiated a spark of joy that Clara had almost forgotten existed. Luna, can I get you to help with the decorations? Clara called as she stirred the soup. Sure, Mom, Luna replied, her voice soft but brightening as she looked up from her drawing. I was thinking we could use some of the wildflowers from the garden. Great idea. Let's make this place feel like home. Clara beamed back, her heart fluttering with hope. As they worked, the sound of laughter and chatter began to fill the house. Neighbors started arriving, each person bringing a dish to share. Clara felt a sense of warmth envelop her. This was exactly what she had envisioned when she decided to move back to this town. Each visitor carried with them not only food, but stories and memories that intertwined with her own. "Clara, I brought my famous pumpkin pie," called out Mrs. Hargrove, the friendly older woman from down the street. She ambled in her silver hair, catching the afternoon sunlight. "Thank you, Mrs. Grove. It looks amazing," Clara responded, taking the pie and placing it carefully on the counter. The sight of it reminded her of the Thanksgiving dinners she had spent with her own family as a child, laughter echoing through the halls. Is there anything I can help with?" Mrs. Hargrove offered, her warm smile reassuring. "Actually, could you help Ben with the table? I think he might need a hand getting everything set up," Clara suggested. "Of course. Come on, Benjamin, let's make this table look fantastic," Mrs. Hargrove exclaimed, beckoning him over. As they busied themselves, Clara turned back to the kitchen, where Luna was now arranging wildflowers in a small vase. The sight of her daughter's delicate hands working with nature brought a smile to her face. "Mom, do you think we'll have enough food?" Luna asked, a hint of worry creeping into her voice. "Absolutely. Look around, sweetheart. We have more than enough." "It's not just about the food, it's about being together," Clara replied, her heart swelling with pride. "Yeah, but what if no one comes?" Luna's voice wavered, a flicker of doubt surfacing. "Luna, this is a community. People are excited to meet you and Ben, and they're here because they want to support us. Trust me, this is going to be special," Clara assured her, reaching out to squeeze her daughter's hand. Just then, Matteo arrived with a basket in hand, a shy smile on his face. "I brought some fresh bread from the bakery. I hope it's okay," he said, his gaze flicking between Clara and Luna. "Matteo, that's perfect, thank you," Clara said, a warmth spreading through her at the sight of him. "Luna, could you show Matteo where to put the bread?" "Sure," Luna replied, her earlier doubts seemingly forgotten as she led Matteo to the counter. As they settled into their roles, Clara felt a sense of calm wash over her. The house, filled with whispers of the past, now resonated with laughter and life. She caught snippets of conversations between neighbors, stories shared over dishes passed from hand to hand. Clara couldn't help but smile at the camaraderie that enveloped them. "Clara, come here." Esmeralda's voice rang out from the dining area, her presence as vibrant as ever despite her age. The older woman was a force of nature, her laughter infectious and her spirit unyielding. "Yes." Clara walked over, wiping her hands on her apron. "Look at this beautiful spread. You've done an incredible job." Esmeralda praised, her eyes sparkling. "And I brought my famous cranberry sauce, just like I did back in the day." "Thank you, Esmeralda. We're really grateful for everything you've done for us," Clara said sincerely. "Oh, darling, this is just the beginning. You're building something wonderful here," Esmeralda replied, her voice dropping to a more intimate tone. "You're not just fixing up a house, you're restoring a legacy." Clara felt a lump in her throat at Esmeralda's words. She had sensed the weight of her grandmother's past in these walls, but now it felt like that legacy was being woven into something new. "I just hope to make it a home for my kids," Clara admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "And you will. Trust in the process, dear. This house has waited a long time for someone like you," Esmeralda said, her hand resting gently on Clara's shoulder. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the guests gathered around the makeshift table in the backyard. Clara looked around, her heart swelling with gratitude. This was her new family, the community she had longed for. She watched as Ben animatedly shared stories of their renovations with a group of children, while Luna, sitting close by, sketched the scene before her. Everyone, if I could have your attention, please. Clara called, her voice ringing out across the gathering. The chatter slowly faded as all eyes turned to her. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is more than just a meal. It's a celebration of new beginnings. Each of you has played a part in helping us find our way back to joy and community, Clara said, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. Cheers erupted around the table, and Clara couldn't help but smile. Let's eat, shouted someone from the back, and laughter erupted once more as everyone dug into the spread before them. As the night wore on, stories flowed as freely as the food. Clara found herself enveloped in laughter and warmth, feeling more at home than she had in years. She looked at her children, their faces lit with happiness, and knew that they were finally on the road to healing. "Mom, this is the best dinner ever," Ben exclaimed between mouthfuls of pumpkin pie. Clara chuckled. "I think it's the company that makes it special." Luna, her eyes sparkling with excitement, chimed in, "And the wildflowers, they really make the table look pretty." As laughter rang out and the stars began to twinkle overhead, Clara felt a sense of peace settle in her heart. This wasn't just a dinner, it was the first step toward rebuilding their lives. One meal at a time, surrounded by love and community. The house, once a symbol of despair, had transformed into a sanctuary of hope, and Clara knew that they were finally on their way to creating a home filled with warmth and belonging. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the neighborhood, Clara stood in the kitchen, her hands busy chopping vegetables for the evening meal. The scent of sautéed onions filled the air, mingling with the earthy aroma of the herbs she had gathered from the small garden that was slowly taking root in the backyard. It was a modest space, but it was hers now, and a sense of pride welled up inside her as she surveyed the vibrant greens. "Mom, do we have any more of those little tomatoes?" Ben called from the living room, his voice laced with excitement. "Check. In the fridge, sweetie. I think I saw a few left," Clara replied, her heart warming at the sound of his enthusiasm. "Got them!" Ben exclaimed moments later, his voice echoing through the house as he rushed back into the kitchen. He hopped up onto a stool, his small frame barely reaching the counter. "Can I help?" "Of course you can wash them," Clara smiled, handing him a bowl. "Just be careful not to drop them, okay?" "I won't," he said determinedly. His concentration was palpable as he carefully held the tomatoes under the running water, the droplets sparkling in the afternoon light. In the living room, Luna was sprawled across the floor, her sketchbook open and a pencil dancing across the page. She had found a quiet corner of the house where the light streamed in just right, and it seemed to inspire her. Clara caught a glimpse of her daughter's progress and felt a wave of relief wash over her. The art had returned a flicker of the Luna. She remembered the one who used to fill the walls of their old home with her colorful creations. "Luna, can you come help set the table?" Clara asked after a moment, stepping into the living room. "Dinner will be ready soon." "Ugh, do I have to?" Luna replied, her voice tinged with adolescent annoyance, but she reluctantly put down her pencil and got up. "Just for a few minutes. Then you can go back to your drawings," Clara promised, hoping to entice her. "I could really use your artistic touch for the table." "Fine," Luna muttered, rolling her eyes, but a slight smile tugged at the corners of her lips as she caught sight of the vibrant flowers Clara had arranged in a small vase, "but only because it looks nice." "Thank you," Clara said, a spark of joy igniting within her. They moved together to the dining room, placing plates and utensils meticulously on the table, and with every clink and clatter, Clara felt the weight of her worries lift just a little. As they worked, Clara couldn't help but steal glances at Luna, who seemed to be distracted by her own thoughts. "What are you drawing, honey?" she ventured, hoping to bridge the gap that had widened between them. Luna hesitated, biting her lip before responding. "Just some stuff," she said vaguely, her gaze moving back to the sketchbook. Can I see? Clara asked gently, her heart racing with both hope and fear. Not right now, Luna replied, a hint of defiance in her voice. It's not finished. Clara nodded, respecting her daughter's space. There would be time for sharing later, she hoped. Okay, no pressure. Just know I'm here if you want to talk about anything. Sure, Luna muttered, her tone softening slightly. Dinner's almost ready, Ben chimed in, his excitement returning as he plopped down on a chair at the table. Just then, a soft knock reverberated from the front door, interrupting their moment. Clara exchanged a glance with Luna, her heart skipping. A beat. Matteo had promised to stop by, but she hadn't expected him this early. I'll get it, Ben exclaimed, jumping up from his chair, his enthusiasm infectious. Wait, let me... Clara started, but it was too late. Ben dashed toward the doctor, throwing it open with a wide grin. Matteo, he shouted, his voice filled with glee. Hey there, buddy. Matteo replied, his warm smile lighting up the dim entryway. He stood tall, his strong hands resting against the doorframe, a toolbox slung over his shoulder. Is your mom around? In the kitchen, Ben said practically, bouncing on his feet. Thanks, champ, Matteo said, moving past him into the house. Clara felt a rush of warmth envelop her as he stepped inside, the scent of sawdust and outside air following him. Hi, Matteo. Clara greeted, her voice steady, despite the fluttering in her chest. Hey, Clara, just thought I'd swing by and see how things are going, he said, his dark eyes scanning the room before landing back on her. Looks like you've made some progress. Thanks. It's getting there slowly but surely. Clara smiled, hoping to convey her gratitude for his support. Dinner is almost ready. Would you like to join us? Wouldn't miss it, Matteo replied, his lips curling into a casual smile that made Clara's heart flutter. I'm always up for some good home-cooked food. Great, just give me a second to finish up here, Clara said, turning back to the stove. As she stirred the pot, she could feel Matteo's presence in the room, a quiet strength that seemed to fill the space around them. Luna, having retreated to her sketchbook again, glanced up occasionally, observing the easy rapport between her mother and the carpenter. Do you need any help with that? Matteo offered, stepping closer to the stove. I think I've got it, but I appreciate it, Clara replied, a hint of nervousness creeping in. I'm no chef, but I can chop vegetables and set the table, he said, a teasing glint in his eyes. Okay, but just be careful not to cut yourself, Clara said, laughing as she handed him a knife and a few vegetables. I promise I'll be... and careful, Matteo said, his tone light as he began to slice the vegetables with surprising skill. Wow, look at you. Who knew you were such a culinary expert? Clara remarked, her heart warming further. Don't let the others in town know. I have a reputation to uphold, he joked, and Clara felt a sense of camaraderie blossom between them. As they finished preparing the meal, the kitchen filled with laughter and the delicious smell of food. Luna, intrigued by the banter, put down her sketchbook and joined them at the counter, curiosity piqued. Are you really good at cooking, Matteo? She asked, her voice softening as she joined in on their light-hearted conversation. Let's just say I can follow a recipe, Matteo replied with a grin, glancing at Clara. But it's not my specialty. I prefer working with wood. Maybe you can teach me how to make something someday, Luna suggested, her interest evident. I'd love that. Cooking can be just as fun as building things, Matteo replied, his enthusiasm infectious. Plus, you get to eat it afterward. Okay, I'm in, Luna said, a small smile breaking across her face. As they all gathered around the table, Clara felt a warmth envelop the room. The table was set, beautifully adorned with the flowers she had arranged, and the food was a colorful array of flavors and textures. They shared stories and laughter, the weight of the past slowly lifting from Clara's shoulders as she watched her children come alive in the presence of Matteo. Here's to new beginnings. Matteo raised his glass, and Clara felt a swell of gratitude toward him. To new beginnings, The children echoed, their voices ringing with sincerity. In that moment, Clara realized that this was more than just a meal. It was a celebration of everything they had endured and everything that lay ahead. The house, once a shell of despair, was becoming a home filled with love, laughter, and shared dreams. And perhaps, just perhaps, it was also becoming a place where her heart could heal. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm golden light over the newly restored house, Clara stood in the kitchen, stirring a pot of simmering vegetable soup. The aroma filled the air, mingling with the faint scent of fresh paint and sawdust that still lingered from Mateo's recent renovations. This was the first Thanksgiving they would celebrate in their new home, and Clara felt a flutter of excitement mixed with trepidation. She had invited their neighbors, a gesture of gratitude for the community that had embraced them since their arrival. "Mom, are we ready yet?" Ben's voice echoed from the living room, where he was busy arranging handmade paper decorations that he and Luna had crafted together. "Almost, sweetheart, just a few more minutes," Clara replied, her heart swelling with affection for her son's eagerness. She could hear Luna's soft hum as she worked on the art installation in the corner, a piece inspired by Esmeralda's stories of the past. As Clara turned off the stove, the doorbell rang, and she felt a rush of adrenaline. "That must be everyone," she exclaimed, wiping her hands on a dish towel and hurrying to the door. When she opened it, she was greeted by a cheerful crowd of neighbors, each carrying a dish or two to contribute to the feast. Clara's heart warmed at the sight of their smiling faces, illuminated by the last rays of sunlight. "Happy Thanksgiving, Clara," called out Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman with a kind smile who was holding a steaming casserole. "I brought my famous green bean casserole. I hope it's as good as last year." Clara chuckled, stepping aside to let them in. "I'm sure it will be. Thank you so much for coming. It means a lot to us." As the guests filed into the house, Clara's eyes caught Mateo's across the room. He stood in the kitchen doorway, a warm smile on his face, as he held a beautifully crafted wooden serving tray. It was a gift he had made for her, and it felt like a symbol of their growing friendship. "Hey there," he said, his voice low and comforting. "Need any help?" "Just setting the table," Clara replied, feeling a rush of warmth at his presence. "I could use an extra pair of hands." Mateo stepped in, and together they moved to the dining table, which was now adorned with a colorful tablecloth and an arrangement of autumn leaves that Luna had collected from their yard. "This looks beautiful," Mateo said, admiring the setup. "You've really turned this place around." "Thanks to you and the community," Clara replied, glancing at him with gratitude. "I don't think we would be here without everyone's support." As they worked side by side, Clara felt a comfortable rhythm between them, a quiet understanding that had developed over the weeks. She watched as he placed the serving tray on the table, filled with his own contribution, a hearty pumpkin pie still, warm from the oven. "Wow, Mateo, you can bake too," Clara teased, a playful smile on her lips. "Just a little," he admitted, scratching the back of his neck. "I may have had some help from my mom's old recipes." The sound of laughter from the living room drew their attention. Ben had successfully convinced Luna to join him in a Thanksgiving-themed game with some of the neighborhood kids, and they could hear their joyful shouts echoing through the house. "Maybe we should check on them," Clara suggested, looking at Mateo with a mix of excitement and concern. "Let's go," he said, his eyes sparkling with warmth. As they entered the living room, Clara felt a wave of happiness wash over her. The space that had once felt dark and abandoned was now alive with laughter, chatter, and the unmistakable warmth of community. The children were gathered around the coffee table covered in craft supplies, creating decorations for their own Thanksgiving feast. "Look, Mom, I made this for you," Ben exclaimed, holding up a construction paper turkey with a proud smile. "Oh, it's wonderful, sweetheart," Clara said, kneeling down to admire his work. "You've outdone yourself." "Can we hang it up?" he asked, his eyes wide with enthusiasm. Absolutely. We'll find the perfect spot, Clara assured him, her heart swelling with pride. Luna, who had been sitting quietly beside her brother, spoke up then. I made something too, she said, her voice soft but steady. She held up a colorful painting that depicted a family gathered around a table, surrounded by autumn leaves and pumpkins. It's beautiful, Luna, Clara said, her eyes shining. You've captured the spirit of Thanksgiving. Matteo, who had been observing, quietly leaned closer to Luna. You've got a real talent, you know. This is amazing, he said, and Clara noticed a spark of encouragement in his demeanor that seemed to lift Luna's spirits. Thanks, she mumbled, a hint of a smile breaking through her usually stoic expression. Why don't we display your art alongside Ben's turkey? Clara suggested. It'll make the table even more festive. With a newfound sense of enthusiasm, the children set to work pinning their creations to the wall. Clara watched them, her heart swelling as she realized how far they had come since moving in. The walls of the house, once bare and cold, were now adorned with the vibrant colors of their lives. As the guests began to settle in around the dining table, Clara felt a wave of nervousness wash over her. She had prepared for this moment, but the weight of the past still lingered. She took a deep breath, glancing at Matteo, who gave her an encouraging nod. Welcome, everyone, Clara announced, her voice steadying as she took her place at the head of the table. I'm so grateful to have you all here to celebrate Thanksgiving with us. This is our first holiday in our new home, and it wouldn't feel complete without each of you. The room erupted in warm applause and cheers, and Clara felt a rush of gratitude as she smiled at each familiar face. Let's give thanks for the food and for the community that has welcomed us, Clara said, raising her glass of apple cider. To new beginnings and the strength we've found together. To new beginnings, the guests echoed, raising their glasses in unison. As the meal commenced, laughter and stories filled the air, creating a tapestry of warmth that wrapped around Clara like a comforting blanket. She watched as Matteo engaged with the children, sharing anecdotes about his own childhood and the traditions he cherished. For the first time in a long while, Clara felt a sense of belonging wash over her. As the evening unfolded, Clara noticed the connection between Matteo and her children grow deeper. Ben was animatedly discussing his school project, while Luna, inspired by the warmth around her, began to share snippets of her artwork and the stories behind them. Mum, did you know that the first Thanksgiving was a celebration of friendship? Ben asked, his eyes bright with curiosity. Clara smiled, pleased to see him so engaged. Yes, it was about coming together just like we are today. And maybe we can create our own traditions, Luna added, glancing at Matteo. Like having a pumpkin pie competition every year. I'm in, Matteo replied, grinning. But I warn you, my pie is unbeatable. The group erupted in laughter, and Clara felt the weight of her worries lift. It was moments like these that reminded her of the beauty of community and the healing power of love. As dessert was served, and the evening wound down, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She glanced around the table, taking in the laughter, the stories, and the joy that filled the room. This house, once a mere shell of its former self, had transformed into a home, a sanctuary built on shared experiences, laughter, and newfound connections. Thank you all for being here, Clara said, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. This Thanksgiving has been more than I could have ever hoped for. You've all welcomed us into your lives and made this house a home. As she looked at Matteo, she saw a reflection of her own journey. They had both faced their struggles, but together they were building something beautiful, a bridge between the past and a hopeful future. And in that moment, surrounded by laughter and love, Clara knew that they had truly begun their journey of healing and rebuilding, not just the house, but their lives, together. As Clara stood in the kitchen, the aroma of roasted turkey and spiced pumpkin pie enveloped her in a warm embrace. It was Thanksgiving Day, the air buzzing with anticipation and a hint of nostalgia as she prepared for the community dinner that would take place in their newly restored backyard. With each passing moment, she felt the weight of the past few months lift slightly off her shoulders. The house, once a shell of despair, had transformed into a lively hub of laughter, connection, and hope. "Mom, can you help me with the decorations?" Luna called from the living room, her voice tinged with excitement. Clara smiled to herself, grateful that her daughter had found joy in contributing to their new life, even if it had taken longer than she had hoped. "Of course, sweetheart. What do you need?" Clara replied, wiping her hands on a dish towel and walking towards the living room. As she entered the room, she was met with a scattering of autumn-themed crafts, orange and yellow leaves made. From construction paper, tiny pumpkins painted by Ben, and a few strings of twinkling lights that Luna had insisted would add a magical touch. The sunlight filtering through the windows cast a golden glow on the makeshift decorations, making the space feel cozy and inviting. "Look at these," Luna exclaimed, holding up a garland of leaves. "I thought we could hang it over the table outside." "That's perfect, it'll be beautiful with the lights," Clara said, feeling a swell of pride at her daughter's creativity. She reached out to help Luna attach the garland, their fingers brushing as they worked together. It was moments like these that reminded Clara of the bond they were rebuilding. Ben, meanwhile, sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by his own creations, miniature boats made from twigs and leaves. He looked up from his artwork, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Mom, can I show everyone my boats during dinner? They're my best ones yet." "Absolutely, buddy, everyone will love them," Clara replied, her heart swelling with affection. "You've been working so hard on them." As they decorated, the sounds of laughter and conversation drifted in from the kitchen, where the aroma of the feast mingled with the warmth of friendship. Neighbors were arriving, each bringing a dish to share, and Clara felt a sense of community enveloping her like a warm blanket. Later, as the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, Clara stepped outside to set up the last of the tables. The backyard had been transformed into a festive space, adorned with lights and colorful centerpieces made of leaves and flowers. She took a moment to breathe in the crisp autumn air, feeling grateful for the journey that had brought her here. Just then, Matteo appeared carrying a large wooden serving platter filled with roasted vegetables and herbs. His face lit up when he saw Clara, and he approached with an easy smile. "Need a hand?" "Always," she replied, feeling a warmth spread through her at the sight of him. "I'm just setting up the tables for tonight. Can you help me with this one?" As they worked side by side, Clara couldn't help but notice the way Matteo moved with confidence, his hands steady as he arranged the dishes. They exchanged small talk, each shared laugh, building a bridge of connection between them. "You've done a wonderful job with the backyard," Matteo remarked, glancing around at the decorations. "It feels alive." "Thank you," Clara replied, her cheeks warming at the compliment. "I couldn't have done it without everyone's help, especially yours." Matteo paused, looking into her eyes with a sincerity that made her heart race. "You've got a real gift for bringing people together, Clara. It's inspiring." Before she could respond, Ben came bounding out of the house, his excitement palpable. "Mom, everyone's here. Can we start? Can we? Just a few more minutes, sweetie," Clara said, ruffling his hair affectionately. "Help me set up the last table, and then we'll gather everyone around." They quickly finished arranging the last of the tables, and soon the yard was filled with neighbors, each one carrying a dish that added to the spread of food. Clara looked around, her heart swelling with gratitude. This wasn't just a meal, it was a celebration of community resilience and the bonds they were forming. As everyone settled down at the long tables, Clara stood up, her hands clasped in front of her. She cleared her throat, feeling a wave of nervousness wash over her. "I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for being here. A few months ago, I felt lost but with your support we've turned this house into a home." A chorus of encouraging murmurs erupted from the crowd, and Clara smiled, her heart racing with gratitude. "And I also want to acknowledge the incredible work that went into restoring this place," she continued, glancing at Matteo, who sat at the end of the table, a proud smile on his face. "It's truly become a reflection of love and strength, and I couldn't have done it without all of you." Cheers erupted along with clinking glasses and laughter. Clara felt a sense of belonging that had been missing for so long, a feeling that this was where she was meant to be. "Now, let's eat," Matteo called out, and the crowd erupted into laughter again, the air filled with an electric energy of excitement and camaraderie. As the meal began, Clara moved between the tables, engaging with her neighbors, sharing stories, and savoring the food that had been prepared with love. She watched as Ben eagerly showed off his miniature boats to a group of children nearby, their eyes wide with admiration. Luna, seated with her new friend Olivia, shared sketches and stories, her laughter ringing out like music. Later in the evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, and the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Clara felt a gentle tap on her shoulder. She turned to find Matteo standing beside her, holding a small wooden box. "I have something for you," he said, his voice soft and sincere. Clara raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What is it?" "Open it," he urged, a hint of excitement in his eyes. As she lifted the lid, Clara gasped. Inside lay a delicate silver necklace adorned with a small key, intricately designed. "Matteo, it's beautiful," she exclaimed, her fingers brushing over the pendant. "What does it mean?" "It's a key," he explained, his gaze steady. "A symbol of new beginnings and the doors you've opened for yourself and your family. Just like this. The house has opened its doors to us all." Clara felt a rush of emotion at his words. "Thank you. This means so much to me." Matteo smiled, a warmth spreading between them. "You deserve it, Clara. You've worked so hard to create this place, to bring everyone together." As they stood there, surrounded by the laughter and joy of the community, Clara felt a flicker of something new, something hopeful. She realized that this was just the beginning, not just for the house, but for her family, and for the connections they were forging. "Let's make a toast," Clara suggested, raising her glass. "To new beginnings, to friendship, and to the power of community." Everyone joined in, their glasses clinking together, the sound resonating like a promise in the night. In that moment, Clara knew they had found their place, their home, together. As autumn's crisp air enveloped the small town, Clara stood at the threshold of her newly renovated home, a sense of pride swelling within her. The community had come together in unexpected ways, transforming the crumbling structure into a beacon of warmth and life. She took a deep breath, the scent of freshly painted walls and new wood filling her lungs, mingling with the earthy aroma of fallen leaves outside. "Mom, look!" Ben's voice pierced the tranquility, pulling Clara's focus away from her thoughts. She turned to find him standing proudly in front of a miniature model of the house he had painstakingly crafted for his school project. It was an elaborate replica, each detail representing the love and care Clara had put into restoring their home. "Wow, Ben! It looks amazing!" Clara knelt beside him, her heart swelling with admiration. "You even got the color of the front door just right," Ben beamed, pushing his hair away from his forehead. "I wanted to show everyone that our house is special now. And look, I even added the tree house." He pointed excitedly to the tiny wooden structure perched atop the model. Clara smiled, her heart heavy with gratitude for the resilience they had all shown. "This is going to impress your class. I can't wait to see the look on your teacher's face." "Can I take it to school tomorrow?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. "Of course, just be careful with it, okay?" Clara replied, ruffling his hair affectionately. As she watched him rush off to find a safe place for his precious creation, Clara felt a sense of fulfillment she hadn't experienced in a long time. The house was no longer just a structure. It was a home filled with laughter, creativity, and healing. The evening approached, and Clara busied herself in the kitchen, preparing a simple yet hearty dinner. The clattering of pots and pans echoed through the vibrant space, and the familiar scent of garlic and rosemary wafted through the air. She could hear Luna's music drifting from her room, the soft strumming of a guitar mingling with the sound of her daughter's voice, a melody that had become a soothing backdrop in their lives. "Luna, dinner's almost ready. Are you hungry?" Clara called, wiping her hands on a dish towel as she stepped toward her daughter's doorway. "Yeah, just a minute." Luna's voice floated back, slightly muffled. Clara leaned against the doorframe, watching her daughter in the soft glow of the lamp. Luna was lost in her music, her fingers dancing over the strings, the notes weaving together a tapestry of emotions. It was a stark contrast to the girl who had arrived at the house months ago, closed off and angry. "Luna." Clara ventured, her voice gentle. "Do you think you could play something for us at dinner tonight? Maybe a song you've been working on?" Luna paused, her fingers stilling on the strings. She looked up, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "I don't know, Mom. What if it's not good enough?" Clara felt a pang in her heart. "Sweetheart, it doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to hear you. Your music is beautiful, just like you." Luna's lips curled into a shy smile. "Okay, I'll try." As Clara returned to the kitchen, she felt a wave of warmth wash over her. It was moments like these, small, tender connections, that reminded her of the profound changes they were all undergoing. The house was no longer just a place of refuge. It was becoming a sanctuary of love and acceptance. Dinner was a lively affair. Ben excitedly shared details about his school project, while Luna played a soft tune that filled the room with warmth. Clara felt her heart swell as she watched her children interact, their laughter ringing through the air like music. "Mom, can we have a family game night after dinner?" Ben asked, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Clara chuckled. "Of course. What do you want to play?" "Maybe we can play charades. I have some funny ideas," he exclaimed, bouncing in his seat. "Okay, but you have to promise not to act out anything too embarrassing," Clara replied, a playful smile tugging at her lips. As they finished dinner, Clara noticed Luna's reserved demeanor. "Hey, Luna, do you want to lead the first round of charades?" she asked, hoping to coax her daughter out of her shell. Luna hesitated, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of the tablecloth. "I guess I can give it a try," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Great. We're all excited to see what you come up with," Clara encouraged gently. With the dishes cleared and the game set up, the living room transformed into a stage filled with laughter and playful banter. Clara watched as Luna began to relax, her laughter blending with Ben's exuberance. The evening unfolded into a symphony of joy, punctuated by exaggerated gestures and bursts of laughter as they tried to guess each other's charades. "Okay, Luna, your turn." Ben cheered, his excitement palpable. Luna stood, her confidence growing. As she embraced the moment, she began acting out a scene from their favorite movie, her expressions exaggerated and comical. Clara and Ben erupted in laughter, the sound echoing off the newly painted walls. "Is it a lion?" Clara guessed, eyes dancing with mirth. "No, no, it's a penguin," Ben shouted, his laughter infectious. As the evening progressed, Clara felt a sense of belonging enveloping her. This was not just a house, it was home, a place where memories were being woven together thread by thread. Later that night, as the last game round concluded and they settled down in the cozy living room, Clara glanced at her children, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the lamp. "I'm so proud of both of you," she said, her voice thick with Emotion. You've both grown so much since we moved here. Thanks, Mom, Ben said, yawning widely. I love our new home. It's the best. Yeah, Luna added softly, her gaze thoughtful. I think we're finally starting to fit in here. Clara's heart swelled as she absorbed their words. And we've got more to explore together, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. This place has so many stories to tell, and we're part of it now. As the children drifted off to sleep, Clara took a moment to reflect on the evening. The house, once a symbol of her despair, had transformed into a haven filled with love and laughter. She felt the weight of their shared journey, the healing that had taken place within these walls. The next morning greeted Clara with a golden sunrise spilling through the windows, casting a warm glow across the room. She stepped outside, the chill of the early morning air invigorating her. As she watched the leaves dance to the ground, Clara felt a renewed sense of hope. The house had become a tapestry woven with moments of joy, pain, and resilience. Today is the day, she murmured to herself, determination rippling through her. There was still much to do, but for the first time in a long while, Clara felt ready to embrace whatever came next. With a deep breath, she stepped back inside, ready to face the day. The warmth of her home welcomed her, and she knew that together they could tackle anything that lay ahead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow over the newly restored backyard, Clara stood by the kitchen window, her heart swelling with a complex mix of emotions. The once dilapidated space now buzzed with life. The laughter of children echoed against the wooden fence, intermingled with the aromas of roasted turkey and freshly baked pies wafting in from the kitchen. The community had come together to celebrate Thanksgiving, and Clara could hardly believe how far they had all come. "Mum, can you pass the cranberry sauce?" Ben asked, his voice breaking through her reverie. He was sitting at the long table that had been borrowed from a neighbor, now adorned with mismatched chairs and a colorful array of dishes. His eyes sparkled with excitement, and Clara felt a wave of gratitude wash over her as she watched him. He was thriving, just like the house. "Sure, sweetie," Clara replied, grabbing the bowl from the center of the table. As she reached across, her hand brushed against Mateo's. He looked up from his plate, his eyes catching hers with a warmth that sent a flutter through her chest. "Thanks, Clara," he said softly, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "This all looks incredible." Clara smiled back, her heart racing slightly. She was still getting used to the way he made her feel, like there was a lightness in the air whenever he was near. "It's all thanks to everyone who pitched in. I can't believe how many people showed up." "Community spirit," he said, raising his glass in a mock toast. "And good food. Can't forget the food." As they shared a laugh, Clara's gaze drifted to Luna, who was sitting a bit apart from the group, deep in conversation with Olivia. The two girls were animated, their hands flying as they discussed their latest art project. Clara felt a sense of relief. Luna had finally found someone she connected with in this new town, someone who understood her passion for art. "Hey, Clara!" Esmeralda's voice rang out, pulling Clara's attention back to the table. The elderly woman, vibrant as ever, was bustling around, ensuring everyone had enough to eat. "Have you tried the pumpkin pie? I may have added a secret ingredient or two." Clara chuckled. "I can only imagine what those ingredients are. Oh, just a pinch of nostalgia and a whole lot of love." Esmeralda winked, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "You know, Clara, your grandmother would have loved to see this. She always said that food brings people together, especially in a place like this." Clara felt a lump in her throat as she nodded, remembering the stories Esmeralda had shared with her about her grandmother. "I wish she could be here," Clara said softly. "I feel her in this house, though. It's like she's part of the walls." Esmeralda smiled knowingly, her gaze drifting to the vibrant mural that Luna and Olivia had painted on the side of the house. She is, and so are you, Clara. You're creating new memories, building new stories. This house is alive again. As the evening progressed, laughter and chatter filled the air, and Clara couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging she hadn't known in a long time. She moved around the table, serving food and chatting with neighbors, feeling the warmth of community wrap around her like a comforting blanket. It was a stark contrast to the isolation she had felt in the aftermath of her divorce, and she relished every moment of it. "Mom, can we do this every year?" Ben piped up, his face smeared with mashed potatoes as he grinned at Clara. "This is the best Thanksgiving ever." "Of course we can," Clara replied, beaming at him. "Just think, next year we'll have even more friends to invite." Luna looked up, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Can we invite Olivia's family too? They're really nice." "Absolutely," Clara said, her heart swelling with pride. "The more the merrier. It's about sharing, right?" Just then, Matteo stood up, clinking his glass to get everyone's attention. "I'd like to say a few words," he announced, his voice steady but warm. The chatter quieted down, and all eyes turned to him. Clara felt her heart race. She didn't know what he was going to say. "I'm grateful to have found a place like this, a community that embraces everyone." He began, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "When I first came to this town, I never imagined I'd find so much support and friendship. And Clara, your strength and determination have brought us all together." Clara felt her cheeks flush as she looked down at her hands, unsure of how to respond to such praise. She could feel the warmth of Matteo's eyes on her, even without looking up. "Here's to new beginnings," Matteo continued, raising his glass higher. "To Clara, Ben, and Luna, who have breathed new life into this old house, and to all of us for coming together as one big family." The crowd erupted in cheers and clinking glasses, and Clara's heart swelled with gratitude. She could hardly believe how much had changed in such a short time. She felt a gentle nudge against her side and looked down to see Ben grinning up at her. "Mom, did you hear that? We're a family," he exclaimed, his excitement contagious. "Yes, we are," Clara said, her voice thick with emotion, "and we always will be." As the night wore on, they gathered around a makeshift fire pit in the yard, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories. Clara watched as Luna and Olivia joked and laughed, their friendship blossoming right before her eyes. Ben was engaged in a spirited debate with some neighborhood kids about superheroes, his confidence shining through. "Did you see that Ben just made a new friend?" a voice said beside her. It was Matteo, leaning casually against the fence, a warm smile on his face. "He's really come into his own, hasn't he?" "He has," Clara replied, her heart swelling with pride. "I think the house has helped them both more than I realized." Matteo shifted closer, their shoulders brushing together. "And you too, Clara. You've done an incredible job. I can't imagine how difficult this transition has been, but look at what you've created here." Clara looked up at him, his eyes filled with admiration, and felt a wave of vulnerability wash over her. "I didn't do it alone," she admitted, softly. "I had help from so many people, including you." Matteo's expression softened, and for a moment the world around them faded away. "You're stronger than you know, Clara. You've turned this house into a home, and you've given your children a sense of belonging. That's something truly remarkable." The warmth of his words wrapped around her like a cozy blanket, and Clara felt a flicker of hope blossom within her. "Thank you, Matteo. That means a lot to me." As the fire crackled, Clara raised her glass once more, her heart full. "To new beginnings," she declared, her voice ringing with newfound conviction. "And to the families we create, whether by blood or by choice. To new beginnings." The crowd echoed back, their voices mingling in the cool night air, a tapestry of connection woven through laughter, warmth, and love. In that moment, surrounded by her children and the community that had embraced them, Clara realized that she wasn't just restoring a house, she was building a legacy brick by brick, heart by heart. The past had given her roots, and the present was nurturing her wings. This Thanksgiving was just the beginning of a beautiful journey ahead, and Clara felt ready to embrace whatever came next.